dear friend. As I'm gonna be working on this scribble piece, I want to talk about depression. Have you been feeling depressed? Because I recently went through an experience that was dream crushing, and I felt a lot of anger, tiredness, apathy, didn't want anything. I wanted to be detached from the world, and I've identified that I probably feel depressed. And I had some coping strategies, and I wanted to get therapy, but because of the experience that I had, I could not afford anything. Still can't. So if this is something that resonates with you, please welcome to this episode. Let me first explore what depression is. I asked ChatGPT, what is depression? And usually it has very informative article about anything it says. Depression isn't just feeling down for a few days, it's a prolonged state that can interfere with daily life. It can be caused by biological and by a combination of genetic, biological, environmental, and psychological factors. Treatment options include therapy, medication, lifestyle changes, and support from loved ones. And it does describe that depression is a mental condition characterized by persistent feeling of sadness, hopelessness, and lack of interest or pleasure in activities. It affects how a person thinks, feels, behaves, often leading to physical and emotional symptoms such as fatigue, changes in sleep, appetite, difficulty concentrating, and even physical pain. That makes sense. That's basically exactly how I felt. If you ever felt any of those symptoms and you're not feeling super excited about life, maybe check if you feel depressed. There are a lot of specialists. And first, when I wondered what depression feels like, there was a YouTube video where a girl described that her favorite food was a pickle. And anytime she would feel excited, happy, or just wanted to have some comfort food, she would eat a pickle and it would make her feel better. And whenever she felt depressed, it's like even her favorite food would not make her happy. That's something that I've also experienced, that was going through my mind, that I didn't feel like anything I enjoyed could deliver me feeling of satisfaction. So I wonder what depression feels like to you. What things happening to you when you feel depressed? Feel free to put it in the comments below, because I'm curious to read how others feel. Another interesting thing I've learned from Jim Carrey, he advised to look at being depressed as in being in a deep rest. In a deep rest from the character that you've been writing for so long, and becoming detached from all the programmings that you had running for so long. That is something that also stuck with me for a long time, and I definitely felt that I needed to be in a deep rest. And I would take baths, I would slow down, I would try to be kinder with myself, which was still hard because there was still a lot of self-blame, because with being depressed, I guess that just comes with it. A lot of it is self-blame. So tell me, what do you think? Do you feel like being in a deep rest is more reasonable description of being depressed, to address it more with a necessity to go through experience of needing to detach from the character that we are to reestablish our more wholesome character? And whether finding clinically diagnosed depression is more helpful and being treated medically. I've never been there, but if you are also going through chronic depression and therapy, let me know what you think about being in a deep rest. Does it feel like that's easier? Because I felt like I needed that, and it helps me to kind of bring myself back to ground zero. Another interesting concept I learned in Hebrew tradition, apparently when someone dies, one of your relatives or loved ones, you are allowed to take 7 days off and just stay in a room and be by yourself, and people can come and visit you. However, you don't have to do anything, and you have a week to just recover, rejuvenate, understand what happened, go through the emotions, allow grief happen. And I feel like this is what I'm craving. I'm still working 9 to 5, and this experience I went through was very tiring. I feel like exhausted mentally, physically. I feel like all my dreams have crushed, and I was building air castles and trying to expand while being all in that self-development, great talk, and then I fell hard. And I felt like I really needed those 7 days to just detach, rest, but with my 9 to 5 job, I could only take request a vacation 3 weeks away. That's the policy. Usually it's 2 weeks. This time around it's 3 weeks, and I just felt exhausted. Just thought of going to work felt more exhausted than anything. Nevertheless, I wonder if anybody was aware, if there's any Jewish people who actually know that this is a thing. Please let me know down in the comments. I think it's really interesting. I feel like we should adopt that type of humane approach to everyone, for every tradition, for every culture. That's just helpful and thoughtful. Another interesting thing, I've discovered that I've wanted to allow myself all these feelings that describe depression to go through me instead of fighting them. I understood that I'm just so exhausted from fighting and creating resistance, pushing myself so much harder and farther than I needed to be. I've dived into self-development, and all of it is all about motivation and positive thinking and disciplining mind, being organized, all these graphs and trackers, and feeling positive, affirmations, gratitudes, which are all great tools. But I would overload myself with all this on top of trying to succeed and build financial success, in which I did get scammed, and this is what was the traumatizing experience for me, because I found out I just fell for believing a scam artist, and that was dream crushing to say the least. So I have also chosen to allow myself to feel sad, to feel down, to feel devastated, to feel frustrated, to feel angry. And on the emotional scale, yes, anger and frustration actually do feel a lot better than depression. I wonder if this resonates with you, and tell me, do you allow your feelings to come out, to express as they come to you and they start coming through you? I understand there is one thing to control your feelings, but there is another thing to allow them to go through, and maybe understanding and giving yourself permission to be a human being, because we have these sensory perceptions, we have emotional body, and when we're not allowing that emotional body to experience certain things, and it will start building up until it gets to experience it. And this is why I feel like not resisting the emotion, but allowing the feelings, however ugly they feel, to come through you, because in acceptance, I believe there is a release. And that also slows down the momentum. There's already momentum of chaos and fall built up and manifested. Abraham Hicks talks a lot about manifestation and law of attraction and momentum factor. And momentum is, it can go as fast as it can and actually manifest, or slow down and you can kind of downgrade the momentum run. Meaning, when you start feeling excited, you start thinking of more details, and this could happen, and this could happen, and this could happen, and that increases momentum. Now, when we're feeling down, it's better to slow down. What I've noticed is I felt this feeling of depression. I intuitively knew that I need to slow down, I need to detach and allow this momentum to slow down, because the momentum has peaked in my experience, and then that peaking has to drop. And when the drop happens, this is when it feels the heaviest, because it drops very low. Imagine it like in a graph with, spikes going up and down. And when the spike went down, to get yourself to the ground zero, there is another slower momentum, like inertia and friction happens. So it brings you, it's like a bouncy ball. It bounces once, and every next bounce will be a little bit less and less and less until it evens out with the floor. Same thing here. Momentum feels being able to feel increasing an acceleration of momentum makes more sense for when you feel good, and slowing down everything that you're doing when you don't feel good, being more general, more detached, more what's the word I'm looking for? In solitude, or more centered, maybe. And then talking to your peers. My mom was on this journey with me, and she's been fairly supportive, and she also been very good distractor. She probably sees when I'm caught up in my own thinking and I'm not emotional and I'm not communicating as much, probably inside my head, and she would usually create that environment that kind of like having a radio on. She would communicate and tell me stories, what happens at her work, which is a whole different journey that she's going through. And it's not only entertaining, it also helps me to get my mind off myself, even though my ego doesn't want to let it go. My ego wants to keep boiling in its own thoughts, in its own busyness, setting up new goals, trying to move my life forward. Mind is always busy creating something or remembering something. And that's why sometimes actually sharing with peers is important, because not only they can give you advice or give you opinion on what happens, they capable of just distract you from yourself. Do you feel like it's reasonable? Because sometimes we could be our own enemies, and if your mind is busy as mine, you may feel like there is no escape. And then I was also seeking for help, but I couldn't afford any help. And I'm still early on this journey of recovering from my experience, mentally and emotionally, as well as physically, because I guess I do feel physical exhaustion. So I decided to look up therapy, and I was looking for free options. And tell me if you ever found free therapy on your own. I even looked into the BetterHelp, and they on the first page of Google, they say that they do have free options. And then I also found out that it was $35 a week, which, yeah, actually, if I could easily afford it at the moment, it's not that big of a price. Nevertheless, right now, due to my experience, I could easily use those $35 for gas, so I chose against it. Then I found a university nearby that has psychology students, psychiatrists who volunteer and practice free therapy for anybody who needs it. So that's for them a credit, for you it's therapy, and it's free. Yet university happens to be far enough that right now I am depending on having rides to work, so I can't easily just take off and go to so far away to actually get therapy done. So the transportation is also kind of limited for me at the moment. So that's just curious. So next thing I decided to try, I thought, well, there is a suicide hotline, right? And I cannot claim that I feel suicidal per se. It's not like I never experienced anything related to that topic. I will put a video about it later at some point, and I will share my story, another story. And I decided to call suicide hotline, thinking that if people who are in a big trouble need to call them, they must be able to talk to anybody, right? And I looked up online in in USA, it's the number 988, and they have their own website at which they state that they will help you. They will find a counselor for you to talk to, and you can call them and talk about anything, and anybody is welcome. So I decided to give him a call, and I spoke to a counselor, gentleman by the name of Vic, and he actually advised me a free service that is available in person, in groups, local, and online via Zoom. I was asking for art therapy because this is the way I'm coping with this. I've been artistic all my life, and I have realized that my creativity also is therapeutic to me, whether I'm painting, whether I'm crafting, whether I'm just drawing. Something different happens when I go through this, because you still have thoughts running through the process, but then you're occupied with the creativity, and maybe that actually helps to release something. So that gentleman on the suicide hotline also helped me to find free services called NAMI.com, N-A-M-I. I will make a video about it later as well. I have yet dug into it. I've been busy. And that was very, very helpful. I was just happy that somebody listened. I was happy that it was affordable, meaning free, and that I was also given tools for that as well. I'm really appreciating this moment. Other ways of coping that helped me were meditation, creativity, and looking at my situation and my life from the consciousness point. Let's go one by one. Meditation is something that I've done for a while, and sometimes my mind gets the best of me. It's a busy place. For me to drop into meditation, I have to be able to connect with the heart, and it takes a while, but I absolutely love and enjoy it, and I do prefer to take 20-30 minutes a day to just sit in silence and watch my thoughts, feel my body and allow myself drop into the nothingness. And whenever that happens, that's so easy. Like, it feels so good. By the way, somebody if is interested in meditation, my boyfriend builds meditation workshops, and if you want to have implementation for it, we can align this. Creativity in any shape or form is something that is a tool for me to refocus, channel my energies through a different medium. As I was feeling depressed, I didn't even want to do anything but to express. Painting feels very soothing. Drawing and doodling and scribbling feels very also kind of expressive. And when I found out that I was scammed, I became very angry, and I did a painting to send to my scammers who didn't appreciate it. And I will list a drawing of it at some point. I want to finish it first. I think it looks cool. I'm pretty happy about it. But also crafting something, making something by hand. It helps me to feel better. I wonder what you do to help you feel better. What creative media do you have? Do you play music? Do you sing? Do you dance? Do you do sports, athletics? Or are you also drawing? Are you creating? I really enjoy Zentangles here and there, not every single day of my life, but I like the doodling part of it. And then think of letting go. Just idea of letting go. What was helping me, I was asking myself, am I ready to let it go? How soon will I let it go? Am I ready to just drop it and say, okay, I'm done. It's just too tiring. It's too exhausting to keep thinking about it. I'm ready to move on, and I'm gonna set new goals for myself and actually gonna put in the hard work and not have it an easy way, and just keep putting one foot in front of the other, doing baby steps, little bits every day, and this is how I just gonna roll. And I remember in the movie Sing, Mr. Moon, the little koala bear, said that whenever you hit the rock bottom, the only way left is up. This is very, very helpful advice that I've used a lot of times in my life. And this is a different type of rock bottom that I hit, and I get to climb up out of this well of chaos, and the journey must be fun. You can probably tell I am feeling better. And I've self-analyzed a lot. Why am I feeling this way? Because I like to drop into the space where I simply imagine myself being a consciousness that just plays video game from the first person avatar. Like you would play an RPG in Skyrim or something, where you can just see your hands and you see your environment, but you play from the first person individual. And looking at your body and what it goes through as your avatar, just like Vagenta quintuplet dimensional. So crazy dimensional that you can feel everything, you can sense feelings, you can cry, and you can feel hunger. It's like really insanely enhanced sensory experience, video game sensory experience, sorry. And even though this video game may have some ridiculous scenarios, and sometimes they're ridiculously repetitive, something gets to happen every time differently. And as long as we're learning, adapting, or improving something, the game does make sense. So this state of mind actually helps me to analyze my character and allow it to be what it is. My thinking process would be, okay, this physical vessel feeling really uncomfortable right now. Can I identify this uncomfortable feeling? The feeling is heavy, feeling of not wanting anything, feeling of wanting to be at peace and detached from the noise of the world, feelings of tiredness. Now, why do those feelings happen? Okay, this happened because of this thing in the environment. It also happened because this avatar vessel character programmed itself into a belief that right now it's being questioned. So now there is a matter of leaving something behind. This character and avatar feels like its ego is dying, something is changing. I cannot always put it into words, but when I'm observing this physical vessel going through certain changes in its character, it's evolving, and that way it's easier to allow it to go through what it's going through. That's why I think of, okay, I'm living in this vessel, and this vessel going through depression, and this shall pass too. Depression will wear off, new ideas will come in, new opportunities will come in, and having a game to keep going is something that I keep waking up for every day. And when I wake up, I know it's a miracle. It means I still get to do something. And learning to move on from the grief of loss, from the grief of losing ego, learning to move on from something that keeps your mind so occupied for so long, and it's just become so tiring, and just dropping it like dead skin. Just dropping it and allowing yourself to focus on something new that you can create. Someone taught me you can stand up and stretch your arms upward, very, very high, far upward, as far as you can, like in yoga. You stretch your arms to the ceiling, and then drop your arms really quickly and say, fuck it. This is something my mom actually taught me. That was funny. And starting with a clean slate. This is always exciting. It's always, sometimes can be scary, but it's always refreshing. And this is what I'm working on right now. And as I'm drawing this little picture, that's just gonna be my therapeutic piece in my therapeutic album. And I'll put out videos and little talks here and there. If any of this resonates with you, please comment. Allow me to know and see and feel what you feel. Do you find certain parts of this talk ignorant? There is no intention for being ignorant. But if you are clinically depressed and you know what it feels like, and you've been dealing with it all your life and keep living, then that means that there's still a flame inside of you that wants to keep going. It's still curious about life, and you're not alone. I'm not alone. No, none of us are alone. And we all have the creator that lives within us. And even if you don't find yourself creative, there is something that you're very special about. It could be singing, it could be conversations, it could be just listening, it could be dressing up, it could be something that you may not even think of as a talent, but there is something that you're absolutely best in. And the only way to actually find that, to possibly just keep trying different things. Sometimes you don't know until you try. People say that you gotta learn on other people's mistakes. No, you can't. You sometimes have to go through your own experience. You can use someone else's example and see what it is. But without you experiencing it, you don't have a point of reference. It's a lot of philosophy. I really appreciate everybody listening though, and I hope you feel well. If you are the one who's depressed and cannot afford therapy, know that you can always call 988 and ask for free help. You can go to nami.com and find free help there as well. You can also learn to meditate and align with yourself. You can also do something creative or volunteer work, for example, to recreate yourself, to allow yourself to feel ease in life, and you'll get back up there. We will. Life is okay, and it may be looked at as a game to make it easier, but everything is good in moderation. Feel free to comment down below and ask me questions, and tell me if there's anything you would like to correct about what I'm saying. And I hope you are well. Much love. Goodbye.